Welcome to the Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services podcast. I'm Gail Lucas, your host. I'm also the Division Chief for the Customer Support and Outreach Division here at DPS. Today on the podcast, we have a returning guest, Chris Allen, DPS Manager, who is the Special Assistant to the Director. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Okay. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
Today's podcast is all about special events, special event applications, special event permits. The weather is breaking, it's getting warm, it's beautiful out there today, it was beautiful yesterday. This is the time when organizations start scheduling their outdoor events, their special events for the public. Talk to us a little bit about what exactly is a special event. How do we define a special event?
Special events are public events that are operated by organizations within Montgomery County. Most commonly, these are carnivals, festivals, fireworks displays, concerts, and sporting events.
Okay. When do they need a permit? Who needs a permit and why do they need a permit?
A special event permit is required anytime you have an event that is open to the public. So whether it's a fee-based transaction or not, if you're inviting the public to your facility, you need a special event permit.
I think that's important to note. So whether you're charging for it or it's a free event, you still need a special event permit, correct? Okay. If you're planning a special event, what do I need to know? How do I start that?
In order to apply for the special event permit, you would start the application on our website.
Okay.
As part of the application, you would tell us about your event. How many people are coming? How many cars do you expect? Are you going to be serving food or alcoholic beverages?
Sure.
Are you going to have tents, stages,
Music?
Music? Are you going to be closing any roads, or do you need any police or anything like that? So there's a lot of dynamics that go into a different special events that are filtered out through our application.
And our special event permit, the DPS special event permit, is really an umbrella permit because you still need additional permits, correct?
Correct. Umbrella is a great term for that because that helps us figure out the nature of your event. And then DPS, along with other agencies in Montgomery County, can then help you get the available or the permits and licenses that are required for the specifics of your type of event.
And all of that starts with our special event permit where you detail your event. As you said, whether you're going to be serving food, whether you're going to be serving alcohol, if you're going to set up tents. All of that is detailed on the special event permit. However, you may still need other types of permits from DPS. Talk about tent permits, for instance. When is a building permit required for a tent permit?
So tents, and this would be whether it's a special event or not, but as we're talking about special events, if you're going to put up a tent for your special event, you may need a permit. So generally, if the tent is going to be more than 200 square feet, you would require a permit, a certificate of use and occupancy, which we make sure that the tent is in an approvable location with zoning. And then also we have inspectors that go out to make sure the tents are properly installed and secured to resist strong gusts of wind.
Okay.
So typically, so again, 200 square feet is the determining factor there. So if you put up a 10 by 10 foot tent, then you don't need any permits for those. So it really just depends on how your event is operating.
Okay. And how many special event permits would you say we issue a year?
We generally issue about 30 special events permits per year. We've been issuing more and more as we've been issuing this permit for a couple of years now. But we have about 30 events that across the county throughout the season, which would, like you said, spring to summer. But we even have some winter events that occur, and it's a little colder outside.
Okay, but you could still put up a tent.
Exactly.
Okay. One of the things that I think folks don't think about or can be a difference when we're talking about special events are events that are put on by nonprofit organizations. DPS calls those benefit performances. Those are ones where you charge a fee for folks to attend, but the money is benefiting a charitable organization. Talk to us a little bit about those kinds of special events.
So, special events that are put on by nonprofits, and this is both by local nonprofits and some national organizations that come to Montgomery County. It is another dynamic to that. You still need a special event permit is the quick answer.
Sure.
There's some additional steps there to make sure that you are a charitable organization. The zoning ordinance in Montgomery County defines what a charitable organization is.
Okay.
And also it gives more latitude for where those events can be held throughout the county. So if you are a charitable organization, you can have those fundraising events and it can then directly benefit your organization and nonprofit.
But you do need a permit. I think that's one of the things that we get a lot of questions about. Folks that are charitable organizations believe that they are somehow exempt from getting a special event, and they are not.
Correct. A permit is still required. And like you said, it's an umbrella permit. So other permits may be required there, tent permits or food licensing, or even if you want to install a generator to run your sound
to run
system,
the lights or something,
or
like
the
that.
lights. So there would still be those additional permits that would trigger whether or not you're a nonprofit or for-profit organization.
Okay. How much does special event permit cost? What's the fee on it?
Our current fee is $102.74. Don't forget the 74 cents.
Don't forget the 74 cents.
Exactly.
And that would be paid for folks that are profit organizations or general special event. Do benefit performance organizations or nonprofit organizations also pay that fee?
Yes, the fee is paid regardless of the type of organization. That's just to kind of start the application with DPS so that our staff can start reviewing the application with the customer and our partner organizations.
And that's for the special event permit. If you need building permits, if you need a fire permit, or if you need a license from alcoholic beverage, those of course come with additional charges.
Correct. There can be additional fees for those other permits depending on what you're doing specifically and how that triggers both within our fee schedule and other agencies.
One of the other things that we are always, I shouldn't say hammering, but we are hammering it with special event permits, is that we want folks to start early. When would you recommend that someone start their process for a special event permit?
Right now.
Right now. Okay.
At a minimum, we ask that someone apply at least 30 days in advance of their event. And that's just because right now, whenever you apply for this permit, one of our staff reaches out to the customer after applying, and we set up an interagency meeting with DPS, our zoning office, our commercial inspectors, with our other agencies as well, just to make sure that we have a full understanding of the event. So once we understand what the event is, then we give the customer a list of things that need to be done. Are there other applications? Are there other approvals?
Right.
And so that can take some time just to convey that information and get that information back. So we like at least 30 days. You know, if you're planning a even bigger event, 60 days, 90 days. We always appreciate the more time just so that way you as the operator and the customer can have your event successfully.
It's never too early, in other words, to submit for your special event. If you have details or if you know what you're going to do, it's never too early to submit that.
Correct.
Let me ask you a question about folks that do backyard weddings or backyard birthday parties, and they may put up a tent. Are they required to get a special event permit, or are they required to get special tent permits or anything like that?
No, those are considered private events.
Okay.
Whether it be a backyard wedding or a birthday party or something like that, those are private events because you're having your friends and family over. But it's really the dynamic of when you invite the public in.
Okay.
And that's the key trigger for the special event.
Right. That's what distinguishes it from a family celebration, is whether I'm inviting the public in.
Correct.
Okay. What else do we need to talk about with special events?
Well, there's so much we could talk about. One of the summertime, we see a lot of special event permits for fireworks displays, which involves our fire marshal's office, and fire safety. So there's a lot of those because there's fireworks that go up in July, all throughout the county. So there's a couple steps there. I think the big thing, like you said, is communication, is getting it on our radar as soon as possible so that we can help the people who run these organizations be successful at that.
And for people who may think that we don't make everybody do it, we have a big golf tournament coming up, don't we?
That's
and
correct.
They are required to get a special event. Talk a little bit about that.
So we require them across the spectrum, whether it's a small organization all the way up to, we do the Taste of Bethesda, the Taste of Wheaton.
Sure.
And you mentioned the PGA. So in May of this year, we have the PGA has a senior golf tournament that's going to be in Potomac. They're returning after a couple years, so
Right.
we have them every
We've had
couple
it
years.
every other year. We have a PGA event.
And
usually.
that's a pretty large event.
Right.
They expect thousands of people. They have large tents, stages, scaffolds, food service. They pretty much have it all. And the PGA, just like anyone else, we've been working with them to make sure that they have all the appropriate permits and approvals lined up for that.
Not to bring in the bad news, but we do have occasions where folks hold special events and they don't get permits.
I've heard
What
that.
happens then? And we have the neighborhood or other neighbors, the community may complain about that. What do we do about that?
So as far as receiving complaints, you're correct. I mean, we receive complaints about events that occur without a permit or maybe outside of the nature of the approval. So our office would receive the complaint. You can typically submit that through the website.
Sure.
And then our inspectors would investigate that. Depending on if it's a one-day event, it may be hard to do anything about.
Right.
If it's a multi-day or multi-week event, there's an opportunity there for our inspectors to investigate, and then we'll work with the operator to make sure that they come into compliance.
Okay. DPS a few years ago did a lot of work on trying to streamline the special event application process. It is online, so folks can go to our website, to our Apply Online program, and they can apply. But what was the other reason that we changed our program a little bit?
With any of our permitting processes or permits that we have at DPS, we always are looking for improvement. And one of the reasons why we changed and improved our process was due to some events that occurred within the county that didn't have all the approvals that they needed. And
Sure.
so it's something that we looked at as an organization on how to improve this. And how we decided to approach that is not only by putting it on the website, but also with that direct communication with customers. So as soon as someone applies for this permit, we have a meeting with them and we talk about the event, and we make sure that the operator is familiar with our requirements, what we're asking for, and we go over all of that, because that is the number one thing, is that we have a greater understanding of the event so that they can have a successful one.
And one of the things that we did a few years ago was make the decision to have this, as is with many other of our permits, to make it a one-stop shop. So you come to DPS for the special event permit, and we make sure that you have connected with the other agencies, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. What role does zoning play in determining a special event or in approving or reviewing a special event?
Zoning is the first step.
Okay.
With special events and just about all of our permits, zoning is the first step of everything. It determines, can you do what you want to do on that property? And as it relates to special events, what our zoning team looks at is they want to say, is that particular property allowed to have an event?
Okay.
There are restrictions in certain zones or parts of the county where you can have these events or you can't have the events. Or maybe you can have them, but you're not permitted to go over a certain number of people.
Okay.
There's even some limitations when it comes to, if you're in a residential neighborhood, the distance to adjacent properties.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things that our zoning team looks at. So during that initial meeting that we have with our customers, we fully explore the zoning of the proposed property to make sure that it's going to meet the zoning requirements in addition to the operator's expectations for the event.
Sure. Thank you, Chris, for joining us on the podcast today. As we always do, what 3 things can we leave our viewers with to make sure that they remember about special events?
Our 3 major things a special event is safety. We as a department are looking to make sure that the operator has a safe event.
Sure.
And that they have everything that they need to be successful. Number 2 is communication, is reach out to DPS, reach out early, reach out often, so that way we can help you get all the information that you need.
Right.
And number 3 is our website.
Okay.
That's where you can find that information. The contact information. We have process guides, we have websites, we have our Apply Online, all of it right there on our easy to use website with a search bar where you can type in special events and it'll take you right to the information.
And that will give you, our website will also indicate the other agencies that are involved in this process, right? And contact for them.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris Allen, for joining us on the podcast today. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Please check out the Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services website. That's montgomerycountymd.gov/DPS to find information and resources to help you with your special event project or any of your next projects. Got an idea or a question for an upcoming podcast? We want to hear from you. Please email your ideas or your questions to dps.podcast@montgomerycountymd.gov. And if you found this podcast helpful, please share it with others and subscribe so you can get our latest episodes. Until next time, I'm Gail Lucas. Remember, DPS is your project partner.
This podcast is brought to you by County Cable Montgomery, your source for news and information from the Montgomery County government. Connect with us via cable, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube by searching for County Cable MoCo.